Hi guys, my name is Karthik and I am from ExecuteAutomation.com, and today we'll be talking about how we can integrate Cucumber with Selenium Java code with CI/CD tool like GitHub Actions. So we are going to be doing a complete integration of our existing code or even a new code within GitHub Actions CI/CD platform in under 20 minutes. And all you need to have is just a GitHub free account. It is very easy to sign up. You can do it right away. And you need to have the source code, which I'm going to be showing you. And again, that source code is also available in our GitHub repo. So you can grab that. And then you can start practicing it. You don't really have to worry about any machine dependency or platform dependency. It's all going to be running on the web in the GitHub Actions. You don't really even have to set up anything for the GitHub Actions to run because you'll be using the GitHub Actions, which is going to be running directly on the browser, because the GitHub Actions is actually going to harness the power of Microsoft Clouds and GitHub Cloud. So you don't really have to worry about any setup for the CI/CD. It's all going to be running on the cloud. So all you need to have is just the source code and a free GitHub account, and you can easily get into the CI/CD using GitHub Actions. All right, so let's get started. Let's all try to help save the tree, water, and energy to save our motherly planet Earth. So this is one of the initiative we have been taking for at least with the Cucumber with Selenium series. So please, let's try to do that. All right, what is this GitHub Actions? If you have really not heard about GitHub Actions is quite a popular CI/CD platform, which is free to use based on your repository in GitHub. Again, it's depend upon what kind of project that you're using and what plan that you have in GitHub, or if you're going to be using GitHub Actions much lesser for the public repo, you don't really have to pay a lot of money in the GitHub Actions. It's going to be completely free for you to use. So that's what is GitHub Actions. It's going to be fully cloud based. It's going to run directly on the containers of GitHub Cloud and even Microsoft Cloud. So it's going to be super easier and super flexible for you to work, because you don't really have to set up anything on your machine. It's all going to be running on the GitHub side of things. As like Jenkins, where we create the freestyle project or the pipeline project, even in GitHub Actions, we have something called as workflows. And it is very super simple, because it also gives you a default template to create a get started code, a get started build with the GitHub Actions. Or you can also create a complex GitHub workflow to run like tens of microservices in cloud on a Kubernetes cluster with a complex authentication. So you can do any sort of workflow in GitHub Actions. There are so many different plugins available in GitHub Actions, or the actions available, which is being given by the third-party companies to use within the GitHub Actions and integration. You can just harness those power and you can use it within your repo. So we're not going to really talk a lot about the theoretical aspect of GitHub Actions, but we'll get into the direct action and start working with it. So GitHub Actions workflow, which we are going to be talking about today, is going to look something like this. So this workflow, as you could see here, has a very super simple structure. It is going to get our branch, which is master, and it's going to run on the Ubuntu latest operating system. And it is going to have a series of steps. As you can see, it has a user's actions of checkout, which is going to check out the code. And then it's going to set up the Java SDK version 10 for me. And then it is going to run a build for on the Maven. And then it is going to perform a JSON. And then it's going to create a Cucumber reporting for me. And it's also going to publish it on the GitHub pages for the reporting. I mean, we will talk about all those things in this whole video, but this is what is the workflow going to look like. And it's going to be super simple, very easy to understand. You can get a hell lot of documentation outside in the internet. With GitHub Actions, as I told you, we can run a Maven command to compile and test our project, as you saw on our earlier slide. And it also generates a reports for you if you have those options within your pom.xml file. And you can also publish the generated report in a GitHub pages as well. And again, there are some special settings that you need to be doing it for making this happen, and I will show you how to do that. And finally, you can also obtain the status badge of your test execution, something like this. As you can see here, it is passing those status, so you can do that as well. So all these magics you can do with GitHub Actions in much easily for free, without you to do anything on your machine setup side of thing. So let's quickly see everything in action and understand how things work. So for that, I'm gonna flip to my Mac operating system. All right, so this is my Mac operating system, and I'm going to show you how we are going to be performing those actions that I just showed you. And again, the whole discussion that we are going to be doing in this particular demonstration, we are going to be using a repo from our ExecuteAutomation's GitHub repo. As you can see over here, it is going to be the Selenium with Cucumber repo. Again, the Selenium with Cucumber repo is quite popular. As you can see, there are 715 fork happened and 109 stars. Quite popular, of course. And if you go into this particular repo, you could see that it is going to show you a status badge. Like currently it's failing, but I have just stopped it intentionally. And if you go over here, this is the batch which I was talking about. It shows you all the status report of the execution on the particular execution which is currently happening on the GitHub workflows. And if you go on the build, you can see that there are a series of steps or actions being taken place over here. It also shows you a Cucumber report because I have used a plugin to do so. And this is the small report, as you can see over here. But if you go back to the Selenium Cucumber repo over here, you can also see that I showed you access Cucumber report online. And if I click this link, you can see that there is going to be a report link. And again, this report link is actually coming from the published GitHub pages. So this is the power of the GitHub pages, and it is actually coming from the GitHub repo itself. And this is really, really cool to see that you can do all sort of things directly within the GitHub itself. And it's going to be very, very super simple and pretty exciting to work with. So I'm going to show you all these options in this particular video, like how to do that. But let's try to do this. Let's change this to github.com. So this is the code that we are going to be working with. And I have already cloned that repo within my machine, as you can see here. And in order to execute this particular code, I have not made any changes on my coding side of thing. It's going to be the same code. All you're going to do is just run this maven clean verify -d testng.dt.d.http is equal to true. So if I just do that, you could see that it is going to run me a Selenium code, and you can see that the Chrome driver has been initiated. Actually, it's running the Selenium Chrome driver for me on a headless mode. And if you go to the steps and hooks, you could see that it is actually doing a headless operation, and we are using the WebDriver manager for doing the driver resolutions and stuff. So that is the only thing which I have did in this particular code. But other than that, this code is something being used in many of my popular courses which is available on the internet, something like BDD video series and BDD Cucumber video series, and also in my Jenkins code. So I have used this a lot. So this is the repo which I am gonna use as a template to show you this particular example that we are going to be achieving, like how I did over here. So in order to do that, the first thing which I'm going to be probably going to do is I'm just going to go to this particular folder, and I'm going to copy this folder, and I'm going to create a new folder on my terminal over here. So I'm just going to call this as mkdir Selenium GitHub Actions, and I'm just going to go to the Selenium GitHub Actions, and then I'm probably gonna go to my Finder, and I'm just gonna go to the Selenium GitHub Action. I'm just gonna paste this code, and over here I'm actually gonna do a lot of things. So actually I'm gonna use this particular repo this time. So let me just do open Selenium GitHub Actions. I'm just gonna open this guy, this window, and the first thing which I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete the existing workflow that I have, because it's going to be exactly the same sort of workflow. So I'm just going to delete that, and I'm just going to delete the target folder because I don't really require that as well. There you go. And everything looks okay as of now. So I can use this particular repo to perform my GitHub action operation. So what I'm going to do is, for this demonstration, instead of using the existing repo that I have, I'm just going to create a new repo within our ExecuteAutomation over here. I'm going to call this as Selenium GitHub Actions. And I'm just going to add a README file, add an ignore file, and I'm going to call this as Java. I'm going to select that, and I'm just going to say contains the same code from Selenium Cucumber repo, and I'm going to create the repo over here. So this is the repo which I'm going to be using to copy paste the code which I have just copy pasted on that particular repo. I'm just going to do a git clone of this particular repo that I've just copied. I'm just gonna run it over here. There you go. And now if I just do an ls, you can see that we have Selenium with Cucumber and Selenium GitHub Actions. So this is the place which I need to actually copy paste that code which I have already got, which I'm going to be probably do that. And now if I just do an ls, you can see that the code has been copied, which is quite good. And now if I try to open the GitHub desktop over here, so if I just do add a local repository here, so if I just do a choose, and if I go to Karthik and go to GitHub Actions, and if I do an open, add a repository, you can see that it shows all the code that I have just copied over here, which is quite good. And I can just do an initial commit to the main, push the origin. So you can see that our code is going to be now pushed into the GitHub repo. So if I try refreshing this page right now, you can see that our code is now coming in, which is quite good. So you can see that the whole code that we have committed just comes in over here so that it can be used for our execution that we are going to be doing at the moment. So now welcome to that GitHub Actions, which we have not did so far. So in order to do the GitHub Actions workflow, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the Actions tab over here. This is the place where we can create the workflows. And you can see that automatically the GitHub action is so intelligent that it knows that this particular code is either a Java code and it has Maven in it. So you can see that it published Java package with Maven, Java with Maven, Java with Gradle. So it's going to suggest you these 4 repository options that you can use for your workflows. So I'm just going to use the Java with Maven because I know that this is the workflow which I'm going to be working with. So I'm going to choose this particular workflow. And once I choose that, it also tells you some option that you can modify. Because I know that my existing code that I have built over here is actually, probably because I have closed it, is actually a Java 11 code. So I'm just going to change this to Java 11 and I'm going to change the version to Java 11 as well. And then I also know that in order to run my code, I need to do maven clean verify -d testng.dtd.http is equal to true. I know this is the command which I have to be using it. So I'm just going to do a commit the new file, and that's it. Once I do the commit, you can see that if I go to the actions this time, you see that there is going to be a workflow being instantiated. So this workflow is automatically being instantiated for us based on the workflow that I have created. And you can see that it is currently starting to run as well. It currently shows the status as queued. And once I select this option, you will see that it is going to show you starting the workflow run. So once there is going to be any available container for us, which is going to run this particular workflow, it is going to start initiating the container execution for us, and it's going to perform the build operation on the GitHub actions. And you can see that now it has finally started executing our build this time, and you can see that it is currently running the test, which is, you can see that the Chrome driver was started successfully. So it is currently executing, which is good news. And it is running our test, like navigating to the login page. And you can see that it also shows the pretty report of the Cucumber over here. And the part of this execution, it actually generate a Cucumber report for me anyways. So if you go to the build with Maven over here, I've already set up the automatic Cucumber reporting option, which publishes in the Cucumber reporting on the platform, which is available over here. As you can see, this is the report which I was talking about. So if I click this particular report, you can see that it can take you to the Cucumber reports, where it's going to show you the execution of the report which has been taken place, and it's going to show you like the execution was happened on the Linux machine, and it has got 100% successfully completed on the OpenJDK version 11, because that's what we selected, and it's a Cucumber test, and it shows you that it has been executed on the GitHub actions, which is quite cool. So there is an automatic report which is actually coming up, and it's also going to show you from where it is being executed. So it's going to show you all those details based on your commit as well. So this is something which is already available inbuilt in our code, but this is not what we are trying to achieve this time. We are planning to achieve even more things, because as we saw in our execution on our local machine on IntelliJ IDE, which is this one, you can see that while we executed our code, it actually generated our Cucumber reporting over here. And this is the report, which is also very, very interesting, because if you could see this particular report, if I open that in the Finder, this one, and if I open this, you can see that it shows me a very nice little report with all the steps being executed on the hooks which is being called, and also it has a failure report, dashboards and stuff if there is any failures, and it also shows us the tags which is being executed and steps which is being executed. So this is one of the nicest report which is also available for us, because as you can see on this Cucumber report, it is going to be deleted within a day. As you can see over here, this report will be deleted or self-destructed in a day, because it is a paid version. You need to have the payment done for this particular stuff. But this is one thing which is not going to be deleted for us, and we're going to achieve this on this particular workflow that we have. So in order to do that, I'm actually going to go to our workflow this time over here, and I'm just going to do two things. The one is I need to first of all set up a GitHub pages, and then we need to add a plugin for the GitHub pages. So in order to do or enable the GitHub pages, the first thing is we need to go to the settings, and if you go scroll all the way down, there is something called as GitHub pages. If you have never heard about GitHub pages is designed to host your personal organization or project page from a GitHub repository, which is quite interesting. And again, you can choose from which branch that you need to enable this, or it can be a main branch if you want to do, or it can be none. Like it's again up to you, like how you really wanted to do that. So let's assume that I'm going to choose the main over here this time, and I'm going to save this. You can see that it is going to show me that your site is ready to be published at this particular location, the GitHub, the executeautomation.github.io Selenium GitHub. And I'm just going to leave this guy as it is. And if I open this in a new tab this time, you can see that it's going to show me a site not found exception, which is all right. So now we have the GitHub pages. We need to publish the report that we have from the target folder onto the GitHub pages. In order to do that, I'm actually going to go all the way to our actions over here. And within this particular GitHub actions, I'm going to edit the workflow. So I'm just going to view the workflow. I'm just going to edit this guy. And over here, I'm just going to add this deploy report page to the GitHub workflow. And you can see that I'm going to give the publish directory as /target, which is going to be this one. And we can also give the target of the Cucumber report, and then the Cucumber HTML reports folder, just like full directory, so that we can get this particular report straight away. So in order to do that, I need to copy this particular path, which I can do something like this. I can just copy this particular path which I have, and I can come all the way over here. I can just put target / this particular location. So you'll understand why I'm actually doing this. So without having this particular option, you can't really have the GitHub page for you. So I have saved this whole thing right now. And now if I go to the actions over here, you can see that the execution is currently happening. All right, so as you can see that the execution is currently happening. And you can see that there is an option called as deploy report page to the GitHub pages. And once we go to this deploy to the GitHub pages, you can see that it shows us an error or a warning message. It tells us that could not find remote branch GH page to clone. So this GH page, as you can see over here, is something required for you to actually deploy your GitHub pages. So if you get this kind of warning, which means your branch doesn't really have a remote branch called as GH pages in the upstream origin. So if you don't really have this particular branch, then this is not going to happen. So you need to create a GitHub pages remote branch in your origin so that you can actually do that. So I'm actually going to do that right now. So I'm just going to copy this GH pages, and I'm going to go to the GitHub over here, and I'm going to create, and you can see that this time it actually shows you the GH page because the GitHub page just executed right now. And if I go to the actions this time over here, the settings. And if I scroll all the way down, earlier while we were selecting this main branch, we didn't really had any GH page, but now you can see that we have something called as GH pages. So this is the GitHub pages or the GitHub Actions page, which is required for us to actually publish. So I have now selected this, and now if I try running the same command, you should able to see that it is working fine. And it is not going to trigger at the moment because the triggering has not been enabled at the moment. What I'm going to do is I'm probably going to go to the actions once again, and let's try doing a rerun this time. And the build has just started, and you can see that saying starting workflow run, setting up the job, and it is starting to execute this time. There we go. The execution has completed successfully, I guess. And you can see that now the deployment in the GitHub pages is actually taken place. So if you go to the GitHub pages this time, and if you go all the way to the publish option, you can see that it actually is publishing a files for us over here, including the report feature files.source file that we just copied. This one, the report feature file source test.html file. So now if I try to access this particular file over here, you could see that on this particular location, the report feature file source.html file, I could actually able to get this particular page coming for us, which is quite good. And now you can also see that this particular report is very, very interesting to see that it is actually embedded within our repository. And if I go to the Selenium GitHub Actions this time over here, you could see that we have this particular GH pages where we actually have all these files which is coming up over here. So these files are actually coming up from our deployment that we just did, where we actually published these files on this particular branch. So this is the branch where it actually holds all our HTML file or the reporting file, which is responsible for showing us this particular report that you are seeing over here. So this is the magic which is happening on the publish action that we just created on the workflow out of our GitHub Actions. So now that everything's looking good, but just that if you go over here, the batch is not quite right. It still shows failing. The reason being I just copy pasted the README file from our existing code base. That's the reason it's showing us like this. And if I go to the actions, and if I go over here to the Maven, you actually have an option called as create status batch. So you can just copy this status batch, which I have did just now. And now if I go back to the GitHub Actions over here, and if I try editing this README file, so this is not the one which I should be doing. I should be doing the new one, which is the one responsible for that. And once I commit the changes, you can see that it's now showing me the passing because it has passed the latest execution and it's working fine as expected. So this is how you could actually create your GitHub repository with Selenium C# and Cucumber integration to be running on the GitHub Actions by you without you not doing even a single code change within our existing code. You don't even have to set up any infrastructure like setting the Ubuntu container which is running it for you. Everything is going to be happening automatically for you from the GitHub Actions itself. And you can see that there is something called as an environments option, which is going to show the GitHub page. And once you select the GitHub page, it also shows you where it is being deployed. And once you do the view deployments, of course, it doesn't really recognize that particular full path. And that's why you need to give the full path like overview feature.html or something like that. So if you give that, you will actually get that options. Yes, so this is how we can actually work with the GitHub Actions, and it's working fine as expected. That's it, guys. This is how you can do the continuous integration and continuous deployment with GitHub Actions in Selenium with Cucumber and with Maven integration. Thank you.